Wholeness. This is Josh, integrating presence, inner skill. And today I have Eva. Oh my gosh. My umlauts, we were just talking about this before. Okay, bear with me, everybody. Have a good laugh. Müller.
Yeah.
Close enough.
Sounds great. Eva Müller.
You're right. Thank you. So Eva, what's going on today besides being overly patient and kind with me?
I mean, everything is great. I'm here, and thank you very much for having me on your show, and I'm looking forward to this conversation.
Oh, cool. Well, the crows have started behind me, so that's interesting. So I'll just throw you a curveball right off the bat. What do you make of that?
Of the crows?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's beautiful. I love like your background with all the different colors fall is bringing to us every year. I love fall or autumn, as we say here in Europe. And yeah, and with that, the birds are coming, right? So very beautiful. I love to go out in nature. I try to go a few times a week into the forest, go for runs or for walks. How about you?
With the crows, I guess I'm a little bit more superstitious and I shouldn't be about them. I'll just leave it at that. But what to me, I usually take them as a warning or something. Okay, you need to
Oh,
pay attention. You need to pay more attention than you usually do, and not necessarily you have to get superstitious or your guard up, but something here is worth paying more attention to. So yeah, but no, of course, nature. We have to live in a big city or even a medium-sized city to just know what a wreck it has on my nervous system. Or I shouldn't say that. But how much more conducive to my well-being by default being in nature is. I don't have to work as hard, I think, because it's so mostly naturally supporting. It's not all unicorns and rave modes all the time because we had a tree fall down here and by luck of good fortune, perhaps it should have fell like right on the house and taken out right where I was at, but and my ex-partner but it fell a different way.
hmm.
So, yeah, it's not all completely safe and, supportive and beneficial all the time. We have these, uh, predators in nature, right? And things are constantly in cycles of decay and renewal. So it is what it is. And I feel we're kind of allowed to work with a certain section and nature respects that and upholds that. But it also has a lot of really powerful forces that, yeah, that we're at the behest of. But anyway, maybe a little bit too out in the weeds here to begin with. So let me ask you my standard question: Who's Eva, and what kind of work does she do?
Yeah. So I'm just going to answer this in a very normal way. I'm Eva. I live in Austria and I work as an energy healer and spiritual teacher. Yeah. And what I exactly do is I work with energy transmissions. So, do you feel energies?
I would say I'm fairly energetically sensitive. I actually used to be even more so. For whatever reason, it's not as strong as it used to be. But yes, I would say so. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So basically, I bring in high vibrational divine healing energies and they help to heal and clear the human system. So I'm just going to share what I exactly mean by that. So the system is the body and the energy body. And I see that there are energies stuck. So that means the energy flow is kind of stopped, or there are just energies stuck, like in form of blockages. And they are in the system from, for example, this life experience. So when something happened in childhood, like a traumatic experience, like it doesn't even have to be like that traumatic. It's just really that an energy got stuck, an emotion, for example. There was anger going on. We weren't allowed to, be angry, and then this energy got stuck, and then it's there, and it stays there, and then it gets triggered over and over again. But it's like from the childhood, for example, and there are many of them accumulated in the system through the lifetime. So this starts from age, I don't know, 3, 4, around 3, 4 years old. This is what I'm seeing, and then energy influences from past lives and also ancestral influences. And so all of these energies are influencing the system and they kind of take us away from our personal highest truth of who we are. And what I do is, and what the energies are doing, they help to heal and clear the system. So, meaning clearing these blockages and also open and expand the system so that there is more flow of life energy. So life energy flows from the root to the crown chakra, falls back down left and right, and flows up again. So there's just this constant flow, and always more and more life energy can flow. And also we can receive more energies, like higher vibrational ones, in form as light. So light is higher information. And this information, when it comes in, it starts transforming our system over time. And I always say towards our personal highest truth, because everybody's very unique, everybody's different, everybody has a different path, different karma, again, different influences in their systems. And also what they need to explore and experience in this lifetime is different. And so everybody gets pulled towards their personal highest truth. And the experience of that is very cool, because the more the system gets healed and cleared, the more life is experienced as just an unfolding of experiences in the present moment. So past and future starts dissolving. Then there is suddenly no possibility to tap into past and future anymore. I mean, this is a process. It goes over years, but this is like the goal. Then also the intuition opens up more and more. Intuition is different for everybody. It's really information from the true nature. It's in the field. It just comes forward. So we don't take information from the mind anymore, or mistaking certain energies that are still in our system, like patterns we inherited from parents or something like that, as us. But we hear who we are and what our truth is, and this comes forward in the present moment. So we just need to act on that, and life just becomes a flow, of unfolding experiences unfolding in the present moment. It becomes effortless, more enjoyable because of that. There's just less going on. The system gets more quiet. The main experience is the silence, the clarity, the stillness. I'm just using a few words to describe the true nature. And this is basically what I do. I help people to heal and clear the system and bring forward the true nature more and more. And with that, a lot of changes are happening in the system. And these changes are manifesting in life experience. Also raises the vibration, for example. So people become more high vibrational. And when I talk about high vibrational, it's not really that, for example, we tune into high vibrational emotions. It's not like that. It's more the system really becomes higher vibrational. It's a different system. And since we are also creators of our reality, not on a conscious level only, mostly even not on a conscious level, but it's on a subconscious level, when we are in a higher vibration, life also manifests in a different way. Because, creation manifests in a different way. Because often manifestation is mistaken by, okay, I manifest a certain item. So I'm not talking about that. It's really like how life is experienced, how it unfolds. Yeah. So to explain
Great.
shortly. Yeah.
Yes, it's very helpful. There's so much. I think to get into here, one of my special areas of interest or intrigue is truth. I will come back to your truth, this notion of subjective truth and something like this, which is a term I think thrown around a lot. And I'd like to suss that apart a little bit. But before we get into that, why don't you give just a little bit of background? I know a lot of people are interested in more of these kind of base program human stories of like, how did you get into this? What did you do before? But I also want to know how you said you see blockages. I want to know like what your perceptual experiences is. Do you feel into these? Do you actually see them? And then when this process started happening as well, again, how you came to discover what you do now. I was watching a little bit of an interview with you, and you talked about how you were once a big meditator and not so much anymore. I think I'm interested in that. And then I think another thing to throw out here right away is, what's the point of all this? Like the end goal and the intentionality behind it, right? When I talk to people that are more on a divinity path, and I feel quite a bit of it, at least on conceptual levels, some of it, and then people on more of a Buddhist path, and then kind of translating between these two so they can kind of talk to each other, finding commonalities, but not shying away from differences, and maybe where things will butt heads, where some people might think it's a really fine philosophical point, but I wonder about some of these deeper things of existence, non-existence, both, neither, or doesn't even apply to any of that. So yeah, we can get into more of that too, but so I think that's enough to get started on for now.
That's a lot.
I know I like to
Wow.
throw a lot out there.
Okay.
Pick up what you want to.
Yeah. All right. Actually, I'm gonna talk about the last thing you were talking about. So basically, there are different paths, and they lead to the same outcome: to realize who we are beyond the human and the ultimate truth, like who we are on the ultimate level. And from my experience, so I also was on a path. So I followed a spiritual path. My path was the levels of consciousness. I followed them along. So I was a big meditator. I meditated once, twice a day for an hour, always with energy transmissions. So this is from the beginning on, I started meditating with energy transmissions. Went to retreats, did all sorts of spiritual practices. Yeah, to raise the level of consciousness, but then also to heal and clear the system, because I realized they have to go hand in hand. But then, basically, when I realized the true absolute, I used the term absolute, the Brahman, and then a while after that, like the whole path fell away, spirituality fell away. So this just doesn't exist for me anymore. I just have an experience of myself, who I am. There are a million words I could use to describe it, but really you can't. Yeah, and so this is what I actually want to share, because there are a lot of different pathways, and that's fine. And I think people should just use the pathway that they feel drawn to, because this is the best one. So there was a time when I was, for example, experienced. I was very devotional, so for around a year, very devotional, a lot of divine mother energy. So this divine path, more on this one. Then again, deep samadhi meditations for a while. So it was more about like going into deeper states. So, there was just, for me, it was a lot of mix in there as well. So I wasn't really following one specific path, although it was about the levels of consciousness. So this was my understanding how my awakening, or how awakening unfolds. Yeah. And how I got into this. So I went to school, and my life experience was unfolding and it was in a good way. So all my life experience was unfolding in a good way, but there was always something missing for me. The same in university. So I studied, thought, okay, when I'm done with university, and I studied law, which I wasn't really good at. So it was very hard for me to study, but I felt like when I push through it, then I've done it, and then I will get rewarded afterwards and feel awesome, but I didn't. Then I got my first job. Was very similar there. I thought, okay, if I'm very good at my job, and I have the money, earn the money, and stuff like that, then I will find this fulfillment or whatever I was looking for, because I didn't really even know what I was looking for. But also it didn't happen. And then I decided to take some time off. And during that time, I really started to listen to podcasts, like personal development stuff, online courses, guided meditations. So I tapped into spirituality a little bit, spirituality and personal development. Yeah. And then after a while, I had a very amazing experience with one meditation. So it was just a guided meditation from an online program. And I fell into a state where I was totally dissolved. So there was no Eva, there was no life story, no problems, there was no searching for anything. There was just pure peace, silence. And it was a very deep state. It was just so enjoyable and so beautiful, just wanted to hang out there forever. But I actually stayed there for quite some time. So it was like 20 minutes, and it was so enjoyable. And then I thought, okay, if I can experience this here meditation, there must be something to it. And I was kind of looked for more. I looked for more. And then I found a meditation group online, and I joined that one. And the person who led it was transmitting spiritual energy, but I didn't feel any energies at that time. And I didn't know what a transmission is. I didn't know what spiritual awakening is or anything. I didn't know that there's a path. Although I was always open for that. So I was always open for, let's say, angels, like for the spiritual realm, to be able to speak with that once. I went to healers and stuff like that to overcome like certain problems I had. But yeah. And in that group, I learned about that there is like a spiritual path, and there is levels of consciousness, and the human can move through these levels. Yeah, and then because I'm a very dedicated person, or I have this dedicated energy in my system, I just went for it. So I thought, okay, I'm gonna find my answer there, or my, what I was looking for. So I'm gonna find it there. Yeah, and then I was actually very dedicated, and I read books and listened to spiritual podcasts then about awakening and stuff like that. So, and yeah, meditated.
And then you got into doing the work yourself and was way more rewarded by that, right? This is kind of a common story. I mean, not to overly simplify, but that's been my experience. If you're up for it, I would like to we talk about, I think this is fundamental to the stuff we're talking about here, is this notion of self. And since you're on, I would say maybe a divinity path, there's this, we could probably both agree that this extreme of nihilism, is not helpful, right? But then we have this other extreme of eternalism, and with I'm oversimplifying. I don't know if this is the right way to put it or not, but this nihilistic tendency some of us have of non-being, non-becoming, think that maybe all of our problems would, if everything was just wiped out, if I could just annihilate all the things that are wrong, then it would be better, right? Then on the other extreme, we have eternalism, where it's just like, everything is beautiful, lovely all the time. It just goes on and on forever. So I don't really have much, if I mess up, I can just do it later because, and then it goes on and on. Wait a second. What if I want to get off this wheel of eternalism? Oh, sorry, you can't. It's eternal. Okay. No, seriously, I'm done with this. I'm done. We've been doing this since, no discernible beginning. There's no discernible end. Okay. I'm ready. Sorry. It's eternal. It goes on forever. So to me, it's a trap, and it can be a trap or an extreme. And it's, if there's no option there, then it's just another prison in a way, I feel. Now, I want to hear how you view this. And then the only other thing I want to go into here is when we talk about the high level realms and experiences you have, discernment. And we know discernment on all levels is important. So I hear reports to some practitioners saying they actually have interface with different types of beings, and they will come cloaked as a being of light. But then actually, if they discern a little bit deeper, there's other forces presenting themselves to be something they're actually not. And they're very crafty and adept at, showing, presenting as something they're not. Have you had any experience with this, or how do you view this? How do you kind of test what is really helpful and authentic and useful, especially when we talk about vast cycles of time and maybe beings that have, usually some people will say, well, anybody at that level, they can't do anything really nefarious because they're so high level, it's not possible. And yeah, I can see that. I can also see a lot of trickery and deceit in the world. But yeah, how do you view these type of things? And then, at the core of all this is a lot of stuff here. Is the core is what is a being? What is this? What is a self? Because in my experience, when I start to deconstruct it, there's no such thing. It's a collection of causes and conditions that have come together due to past intentional actions, be they skillful or unskillful, right? That's one aspect. Of course, there's other laws operating, many laws of the mind, weather, and laws governing everything. So not everything is due to intentionality and law of cause and effect. But yeah, so what is the self too? So I'm sorry, I like to throw it. You can handle it though. I think I have a hard time overloading you.
The thing is, I always forget. When you talk so long, I forget the first question. So you
I know
have to
that's my
remind me.
intent. That's my intent exactly, because I have all this stuff I don't want to forget, so I throw it out there. But who cares
Yeah.
if we forget it? We can come back to it. So just pick. So we've got self, we've got basically eternalism, and then we've got discernment. So these kind of three
Okay.
topics. Yeah.
All right. Let's just start with who we are. I just share it from my experience right now. So okay, my journey was through the levels of consciousness, and through going through these layers of consciousness, who I am and who the world is, or what the world is compared to me, changed. And then this whole path fell away because I became everything that exists outside of creation and in creation. So outside of creation is the absolute, the Brahman, and then in creation is infinite. And yeah. And so what I see, we have different levels. So we are the human in this life experience, and we always stay human. And it doesn't really matter if we get enlightened or whichever level, what consciousness, vibration we're reaching, we're always going to be human in this life experience, right? Then on the level of creation, I call it the light aspect. So we had lives. So this is just the information that I'm sharing is from exploration. So either what comes through my sessions or when I like go and chat with certain ascended masters or whoever, just to get information. The information comes in. And I give it sometimes words because it makes more sense for me. So, for example, it's not the higher self or the soul or whatever some people are using. For me, it's the light aspect, because it's an accumulation of information of what we have, or the light has experienced over the past, let's say, human lifetimes and also lifetimes before. So it's just an accumulation of information. And it's in creation. And through this, I can basically go anywhere in creation and explore, because I'm that as well. So I'm creation as well. And then also I'm outside of creation. So I'm everything that's overlooking or looking into creation. So that's what's looking into creation. I'm that as well. I'm holding creation. So there are all these three levels. And basically, because I'm also that outside of creation, I can always go in creation and explore stuff. And because this is just my work, I'm very sensitive to energies. So I get the vibration of energies and the content. So I don't really see beings if I don't want to. In my work, I don't really see beings. It's only if I actually go and explore. It's really, I feel a vibration, I get the information of the vibration, and then I know what it is. Like there couldn't be anything tricking me, because on the vibrational level, like for example, when there's a person that smiles in your face, because I'm actually having this experience right now with somebody. It's a person, she's in a not very good form, unfortunately for her, very low vibration at the moment. But always when she sees me, she just smiles, but you can feel, I mean, you probably had this experience as well. You feel, okay, she's smiling. She tries to cover this, but actually she's not in a good state right now. And this is the same with these energies. And also, basically, on an energetical level, so on the creational level where there are beings, this is not something I do very often, so I don't go there very often, but I have an understanding of it. And when there are still energies in our system, let's say anger, fear, resistance, whatsoever, the outside reality, which is just a reflection of our own consciousness, is a mirror. So it doesn't really matter if a person is mirroring us, what we have in our system, or the news, or a politician, or an event, or something on the spiritual realm. It's always like then mirroring something we have in us. So it's all about healing and clearing the system. And when we are cleared of these low vibrational energies, you can just go there and do stuff, and no low vibrational energies or nothing low vibrational can actually grab you, or, you can maybe feel it, but it can't really do anything to you. And it's the same in this life, in this reality. So there's no difference really.
So there's a few things. So how do you view deception then? Because I'm not necessarily saying you were deceived about the worldly life, right? But you were kind of, before you were under just let's use an example of not picking on you so much, but like this is very common. And mine was a lot worse and a lot deeper, right? You have this, we talk about dukkha in Buddhism, like this, one of the levels is just unsatisfactoriness, right? Like this, I think this is going to do it for me, but it's not. So, these programs of the world, you do this, you'll be happy. You do at least in America, it's basically, or has been for a while, you've got, you go to school, you get the degree, you get the job, you get the house, you get the kids, you get the car, and then you do the vacations, you do the retirement, and that's what's expected of you, and that's going to be good enough for you and happy. And, so many of us buy into that program, and it worked. And it's no judgment call to say that for anybody else that chooses that, because we have to do something, and it's kind of just how this base level society structure. But for some of us, it doesn't work, right? It seems to work for a little bit. And I don't know if I would call it a deception, but like, how do you view that? And I would just say, there's these trickster archetypes too, that kind of, they get off on trying to deceive people, interfere with people, and they would just say they're kind of playful, right? They want to kind of, it's just a big divine dance. Who cares, right? It just goes on and on forever. So let's just have a little fun. Maybe I'll cause a little mischief. And now, why I get the mere teaching, right? I think it's sometimes misused by people taking it on as blame for themselves, right? Oh, if I see this in someone else, that means something's wrong with me. One of the shifts in perception around this I found that was helpful too, is that what we notice in others is something we've already addressed in ourselves, right? So it's a tough one, because we don't want to, or at least for me, I don't want to over-identify with something I don't need to over-identify, but I also want to take like self-responsibility in some sense as well. So there's, yeah.
I'm just going to say, I
It's
see
plenty.
different levels here,
Okay.
because so one thing is, for example, about the mirroring, there is a trigger within the system, right? So if there is something triggered, obviously there is still something there. This is one level. When the trigger is not there anymore, that's fine, perfect. So it means the work has been done. Then there is the noticing, yeah. But then the next level is not having an experience of it anymore, because these vibrations don't come into your life. Yeah.
That's really helpful. It seems to be the case for the most part. So that's a good way to address that. Thank you. So let's talk about how you see these blockages, and it's really important. Stress more the importance of these blockages, because I know ex-partner is just absolutely fundamentally core of energy work and clearing work. This is kind of at the core foundational level of everything she's done. And I just know in my own sitting practice that it just kind of naturally happens in a way. I mean, I can consciously address it, but just kind of the after side effects of it happens on its own, settling and calming and deepening. Then things will rise up and present themselves in order to be seen and cleared. And it happened on a way more gross level when I first started, and it's gotten more subtle, I think, unless, at least on good days. And so yeah. And then I'd like to, if you don't mind, share with people, if you want to do just a really brief clearing or exercise, or if you feel called to do that, or just talk about what you do, as how you do it, and kind of what you bring as far as uniqueness into your methodology of how you clear energies and address these things.
Yeah. So to answer your first question, how I'm seeing them. So basically, when I started this, I just felt an energy transmission coming in, and I started sitting with people one-on-one in one-on-one sessions, just in silence. And then after just a few sittings, I recognized, okay, there are actually different energies started to come in. So there was not this specific transmission which I was used to. So when I was receiving a transmission from somebody, it was always the same, or the same one for a specific purpose. But for me, it was different. So different energies started to come in. And then I started to just get the information, what they are and why they're here for. So it was just a knowing, like a bubble of knowing, like a whole storyline came with them. Basically, it was just, for my understanding, so that I know what the energy was doing. And then also suddenly my hand started to move in one session, for example, and then I just allowed it and moved along. And doing session over session, like a whole concept started to form itself. So basically, when I see past lives clearing, I always do it on the bottom left. Ancestral influences, I always see on the top left. And so forth. So just this concept started. And also how I see or saw blockages in people's systems. So there is the energy field, and it's full of light. And when there was a blockage, I just knew, okay, I have to go into that area of the body. And then I felt it was more of a denser part. And then I put energy into it, or the energies were working on it anyways. And then there was an expansion. Just an example. And what's more important is that there's energy flow in the system, so that the life energy that flows from the root to the crown chakra. And what I've noticed is, for example, people who are not very spiritual and haven't really done so much work, but for example are in a depression, their energy field is very dense and there is hardly any life energy flowing, versus people who are doing this work or have done it for quite some time, they already have a very open energy field and there's a lot flowing. So there's a big difference. Yeah, and it was just basically a learning by doing process. And then I stopped doing one-on-one sessions and I only work with groups now. And this is a bit different. So I basically create a representation of the whole groups of every person in the group in front of me. So I work with my eyes closed and then I see that representation and I just work on this one and I get information that's common for everybody. So it's often that there are 20, 30 people and they say, oh, I felt like a one-on-one session. Yeah, so the work has just changed and it's still changing, like from the beginning up until now it has changed so much and I know it's gonna change. And this is what I really love about the spiritual path, because it's never ending. There's always something we can look into, we can work on, we can expand, we can explore. Why not? I mean, we can sit in bliss and just meditate. That's fine. Some people, they prefer that it stops somewhere. I'm a bit different. I like to explore and see what else is possible. Yeah. So
Yeah, for now. What about maybe in 3,000 lifetimes? Do you think you'll ever get bored, or want to do something else? Because, I hear some of these spiritual teachers say that, in certain heavenly realms, we've done all this, we've seen everything. And when you can instantly manifest something, then they get bored. And, when you can have all these powers and stuff. So then they start creating or dreaming up scenarios like we're in now, like dreaming up that we'll forget about something and then give ourselves some challenges and things like that. And I just think, wow, well, that's kind of amazing. But even even that, I think would get old if you really think about vast eons and incalculable periods of time. And I just think, I don't know,
but the thing is,
So
the
yeah,
only thing we have is the present moment and we only hear
that's
now. So
right.
everything else is just the concept of the mind, is a
Well,
story.
this,
Yeah, so it doesn't really like this is something that totally fell away, or 99.9% in my experience,
I see.
is like just going like with the mind everywhere but being here and working with what we have and living this life in the present moment.
Sure.
So this is the thing. We have a mechanism in our system that creates a past and a future. And this is why we have an experience of it. But by doing this work, this mechanism really starts to break down. It's really just an energetical mechanism. And then suddenly we are only in the present moment and there is no possibility. So there is no possibility to tap into past and future anymore. It doesn't work. I could do it with my mind, but it's like I really try to go there, but it's like there is no energy support. And then it drops back. The energy drops back into the present moment, same as in the past. So I could go there, but it's not supported. So it drops back right away. And then there is no possibility to work
I
with
see that.
anything else or do anything else except be here and be with what comes up in the present moment. And this is why I see life experience get so much more simple and enjoyable, because we only work with what's here and that's it. And also the whole energy is focused there. So if the energy is focused in the past and future, we lose so much of our energy. And if we have it here available, we can put it into what's in front of us and it will be the outcome of what we do, whatever it is, cooking a meal, doing a podcast, it doesn't really matter. It will be just a lot better because the focus is just there and the attention. Yeah.
No,
So
I totally agree with that because yeah, in a certain sense, ideas of the past, ideas of the future, they are just concepts that are happening right now, and I get that, right? At the same time, I'm wondering now how this plays into notions of forgetting, be it intentional or unintentional, or conscious or unconscious, and also I'm thinking, well, what if this is some kind of mechanism to just be okay with being in lifetime after lifetime, forever? Because to me, it would seem a really good way to manage that, to not really care about then, being stuck in birth after birth after birth. Then if we were somehow cut off from that knowing or that memory, then it will be kind of like a pacification to just go on forever and then we're not even really have a immediate remembrance of this cycle of lifetime after lifetime after lifetime. So I'm just wondering about that. I'm sorry, maybe I'm giving too ridiculous or hard questions, or maybe they're not helpful either. I just can't help but be curious about something like this.
Yeah,
So, you know.
yeah. I mean, if it's of your interest,
Sure.
absolutely.
Okay.
I mean, this is just a thing. I don't think about these things. I don't know. It hasn't occurred to me to actually think about my next life. I just have a knowing that this is my last human life. So this is just a knowing, but I have no idea what's after that. And I also haven't explored. I haven't gone there to look. Um, yeah,
Yeah.
right now I'm personally not interested in it right now, but I mean, if you are, you can explore
Sure.
this. That's very cool. You know, we all have different areas what we're interested in.
That's right.
For me, what I'm exploring right now is, you know, the energy work and what I can do with it, what I can do with these energies, what's possible, and opening up and expanding more. And for example, because of that, a few months ago, so I do this group meditation every Thursday, which is on in like 40 minutes. And often there are energies coming in that help to raise the collective consciousness. You know, this was just part of what's possible. And so there's always something new happening. And this is what I'm working with. Yeah, but like I
Cool.
said, every system is different, every life experience is different, everybody explores different stuff. So this is just something that I'm, at least up until now, I haven't explored yet. So yeah.
Cool. From what I
Um,
hear from practitioners that are on this level, is their potential future lives, right? And 'cause nothing's locked in stone in the future, from what I understand, that it's dependent on causes and conditions. So where one might foresee how a potential future lives, they change moment by moment of what they could be. From my lack of understanding, it's conceptual. I can't see and know this for myself. But so let's talk about let's talk about what people can benefit and help. And I want to know. It seems kind of mysterious to me, and I've asked some of my teachers about light itself. So I would, not to put everything in boxes and pin everything down, but it's not just one type of light. Can you talk about, I don't know, how we want to view light? And I'm interested in like details about it too, because I hear there's different lights involved with different types of light involved with different types of meditation, different meditation objects. You know, I've even heard about cold, false, dark light, you know, a clear light, divine. So help
yeah.
me educate to know more about this, because my experience with this is far behind where I would like it to be too.
Yeah, so I work with light. So energy transmissions, light is basically all the same thing, and it's higher information, higher vibrational information. And I basically just open up the space, and all sorts of different lights are coming in, which are for people's highest truth. So this is the framework I'm having, and there are golden lights coming in, blue, sometimes silver, white lights, you know, and they all have a different information in them. Sometimes I just see light and I see more the information than the color, so I don't really perceive like color so much. And there are creational lights, and there are lights that are from beyond creation, and they have a different purpose. So creational lights I see more as helping the human life experience. So healing and clearing the human system and having let's say a better human life experience, and also being able to access, let's say, information from past lives, the spiritual realms and stuff like that. So this is what creational lights are for. And then there are lights that come from beyond creation, and they are basically only there to help to pull you into the Brahman. So pull you outside of creation to become that. And I work with both, although often there are just the creational lights coming in. And in the healing sessions, for example, and when I do a meditation, often these lights which are outside of creation are coming in, so, and people then fall into samadhi, for example, into very deep meditations where they pulled into that for that while. And then they come back, and they always take back a little bit of that. I mean, it's just part of themselves, right? I mean, it's not, we just use words and concepts to describe something that we can actually only experience. And this is why I personally, I'm grateful for my work, because I like experiences. I like to experience things myself, not just conceptually. And so with these lights, there is an experience happening in the system. And if you want, we can try that.
Sure, sure.
Yeah.
Before we do, I want to know. Yes, and it's such a good point because these are just words, and at best they can kind of point to the experience, but they're not to be
Yeah.
confused for the actual experience itself. Of course, this is the podcast we're talking, so we have to use our muscles with words here, I guess. So, I'm really interested, really, before we do this, how it translates to information. Does it appear as an image somehow, or how does the light translate to information? And maybe after the little exercise you want to do, our work, energy work we want to do here, I'm interested in just doing a brief run through of these classifications of consciousness that you talked about that go into like before and after the Brahman and
Hmm.
Brahman. If you'd like to give a run through of those after we do it, but
Yeah.
yeah, the information with light. How does that work?
Hmm. I mean, every system is different, so everybody's perceiving light in a very different way, and the information. And I can just share how I perceive it, and it's really so when I close my eyes, it's like the whole system gets the information, and then it's in my field, and then I just know it because I have access to the information in my field. And then also there is let's say wisdom coming through, so that the lights want to share information with the audience. And of course they use my vessel, so it means my words and how I translate it. And then there is this information coming through, and this is basically like a bubble of information, and it's I just get this bubble, and then I know what to say. This is how I'm getting the information.
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard it like a download before. I like this image of a bubble too, and people talk about the light of wisdom as
Yeah, I
well.
mean
Yeah,
the download for me is always like I when I talk about the download, it's more something that stays. For me in the session, it's really it comes and then it goes. Like afterwards, after the session, often I don't really remember what I talked about because it's just there in the moment and then it leaves again. Yeah.
that's right. It's very common that I've experienced too. And a bubble is a good metaphor for that too. All right. So what would you like me and the listeners and viewers to do here?
Yeah. So what you can do is just sit back, relax, and meditate along. Close your eyes. You don't need to do anything else, and try to be as relaxed as possible. And I will bring in the energies. This takes like half a minute, and then I start talking. In this half a minute, I always set up the session just energetically. All right, let's start and enjoy. Okay, so I start with opening up the energy field. And by the way, I'm using my hands to actually work on people's system. So on your system and on the system from the listeners. And I really do open up the energy field and I bring in light. Then I expand the energy field. So expanding the energy field helps to hold more light in the system, and also more awareness comes with that as well, and awareness in all areas. Again, this is also going to be different for everybody, where the awareness is going to show up. So I'm expanding the energy field. Then I fill up the expanded space with light. Then I clear surface energies. So surface energies are all sorts of energies that are floating around the top of your system. So all sorts of different emotions that are still present or that have been present for the past, let's say, for the past day or so, and other energies. So just all sorts of energies that grab your attention, because behind there is already a true nature shining through. So it's the pure being, it's the silence, the clarity, the stillness. So that's behind there. and in front of it is just the movement, and this is where our attention goes. So this is just how the human system works. When there is movement, the attention goes there, and then this is the main experience. But when I clear the surface energies, there is no movement anymore. The side effect is that the system opens up and expands more also. More light is entering. And this beautiful expanded space becomes the main experience. And I do the same on the level of the mind. So I clear energies out of the mind. If there is a lot of thoughts, a lot of overthinking happening, a lot of mind chatter, for example, it's just stuck energy on the level of the mind. So life energy flows from the root to the crown chakra, falls back down left and right. And because we are so used to think and use our minds as a tool, the energy often gets stuck there. And if the system, let's say, works is more balanced, then the energy also just moves through the mind so it doesn't get stuck. That means we have less thoughts or no thoughts. And when we use the mind, it's very focused. So I'm clearing more energies out of the mind, and more light is entering the level of the mind as well. And this prevents us of having thoughts. It helps at least. Yeah, and then the body is more relaxed already, because the body also prefers when there is less movement. So more energy of relaxation is coming in. And this energy also helps to expand the system more, that more light can enter. So there's already a lot of beautiful high vibrational divine light present. The light flows into the system through the crown chakra, the third eye chakra. So it flows into the body, the energy body, and also the area around us. It's like we're held in this beautiful cocoon of high vibrational light. And I just clear a few fundamental energies I'm seeing popping up. So resistance to life itself, how life is unfolding. So I see it mostly in the second chakra, but also in the system in general. Just resistance to life. There's a core energy. Then I clear a little bit of fear, worries. Just basically energies that take us away from the present moment. Then I see, so identification. Identification is when we identify with the small self or who we think we are. So for example, the person, the life story, everything that's happening in life. So if we identify with that, and this is a fundamental thing that's dissolving. So the identification starts dissolving when we become more of who we really are. The identification with the small self, and I'm helping this. So I'm helping to dissolve identification. I always see identification in the heart chakra. So I am, for example, energies are just being cleared while I'm doing this, and I'm just going to share which one. So it's like, I am not good enough, I'm not lovable, I need to become somebody else, I need to be different, like all sorts of energies like that are dissolving. And energies that are very self-centered, so it's all about me, 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 me. So energies around that are being cleared and dissolved. I'm important. I'm the center of attention. Like all sorts of these energies just being dissolved. It actually feels very nice because there's more expansion happening in the heart, in the center of the heart chakra, when these energies of identification are being dissolved. And then also a lot of things that we think that matter suddenly don't matter anymore, because they were just attached to the energy of the small self. And that means a lot of energies are being healed and cleared. Yeah, and you can check now, who am I? Just look into your system. There is basically that what cares about that is being dissolved. And just look for it. I wonder if you can find it. It's very, very tiny. It's gone now. So for now, this whole mechanism of identification is gone. It's possible that it comes back after this meditation, but for now it's gone. So you have the experience of this. And then also I dissolve past and future, bring you fully into the present moment. So this mechanism that can create a past and a future. So now you can also try going into the past and the future. Like, it doesn't work. It's not possible. You're just here. And there's a lot of energy of just support coming in, support for the human. So often the human needs support to move through life, or has energies that need support, and then when support is coming in, it's neutralizing. So this is what's happening right now. So it seems the system needs support or neutralize those energies. Yeah, and then the feedback is always, when this is happening, more expansion, more light is coming in. Beautiful. And while, this is all happening in the background, I see a lot of energies are just being cleared. So when I talk about that, it's mostly emotions. So energies that are on the core level of a story. And then the story also can fall away. Yeah, let's sit with this for a minute or two. Just enjoy the experience. Okay, we are finished.
Wow, thank you so much.
How was that for you?
Well, from even when you were preparing, there was a lot of pleasantness, tingling, and just a lot of awareness going to areas in the body that were needed it. Of course, the relaxation, the stillness, the kindness, the ease, the expansion, kind of the smoothness and subtleness, and brightness in a sense. And I like this notion of energies being stuck in the mind. I don't normally perceive it like that, but that's a really good way to put it. And of course, the importance with identification, how big a deal that is. And the more I identify with something, the more I will become it. And so there's really no need for that. There's nothing really there to identify anyway to begin with. There is really not a self, so to speak, is the way I look at it. It's just a collection of causes and conditions and energies. And, that sounds like another story, but so I don't know how we want to put it. But what I want to say is, yes, what we identify with is really important. And a lot of times we don't need to identify with something, right? Things can just be how they are. And I just want to echo how important developing skillful states like this are. And receiving assistance like this is really powerful and helpful to me, and the development of skillful states, right, in the cultivation of skillful states for ourselves and others. And I'm just left wondering now how we can bring more of this to the world. I know you have your group, and any ideas on how to expand it more to a level, and at the same time have people have self-responsibility too, right? To be open and able to receiving higher assistance, and at the same time taking self-responsibility at this, you know what I mean? And getting there themselves and being responsible for thoughts, words, and actions too, without being too much of a burden or too much of a chore, and actually it being really empowering as well.
Um, I'm not 100% sure what your question was now.
Oh, I guess how can we expand this? Is there any way to do this without doing kind of like grid working, which I think, it could be helpful, but I can see if people don't know what they're doing, there's a potential for things to happen. But like how do you what do you see on this on a higher on a more expanded level for assisting humanity? I guess, and cultivating
Yeah.
skillful states.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I have an offering, right? So I guide people through their path of awakening and healing, if they want to. So I have a lot of YouTube videos, for example, so people can just connect to the energies through YouTube. There is a free meditation. There are healing sessions, for example. I do them once a week, and we really target certain blockages in the system. And then also, it's actually very cool. These energies that are coming in, I transmit them, but then also I found a way of connecting people directly to them, so that I don't have to be the transmitter. And I made a website for that, so people can connect to these energies through the website, and then they're just present all the time. And people wouldn't even need to meditate because the energies are actually doing the work. But of course, I always absolutely recommend meditation, because then we can focus right on what's happening in the system, and also expand or drop into deeper levels of consciousness, which is very important. So I very emphasize meditation. So this is a possibility. I think there are a lot of great possibilities out there, and it's really on people when they need it. Be with somebody for a certain time, and if you received whatever you needed, and then move on, basically. So this is also how I do it. And this is what I
Okay.
can recommend. So
Very cool. And I said we might ask you about the levels of consciousness, but I think we're going to put that off today because you've spoken elsewhere about that. And I think if people are interested in that, they can go to other podcasts of yours. So thanks so much for doing this. And anything else you wanted to leave the audience with, and a final message? Tell people how they can join your group, anything else and how they can get in touch with you. And I just wanted to echo that's really cool. It reminds me of the Christian metaphor. You teach a man to fish, and then he'll, even though it's not a bad metaphor because I don't condone killing anything, but then they'll feed themselves, right? So but get the idea. Okay.
Yeah, so thank you. Yeah, I have two websites, so em-healing.com and also nextelevations.com. Next Elevations is where people can connect to the energies directly, and EM Healing is where I offer small group sessions, retreats, and also where people find the free meditation, which is on in 15 minutes. So if you have time, you can also join as well. It's actually a very powerful group. A lot of people, have been working with me for quite some time and have joined these meditations and have a very expanded system. A lot of healing and clearing has been done, and being part of a group like this is very powerful, or joining a group like this. So I can really recommend this. Everybody's very welcome. So I always give a little talk. Then there's a 15-minute guided meditation, and then there's Q&A in the end. And what I want to say to the audience, everybody's exactly there where they need to be. There are no mistakes. This is definitely how I see it. And now this interview is here, and usually we connect to what we meant to connect. So if you feel connected or resonance to what I was talking about, then please join me and the group and my work. Would love to see you there. Yeah.
Cool.
Thank you. And thank
Lovely.
you so much for having me.
Oh, it's my pleasure, honor, and benefit. So thank you for reaching out and joining. So may all beings everywhere realize awakening and be free. Thanks again, Eva.
Thank you.